Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Joseph Clough and this is episode 609. And today we're talking about scarcity. And on the same hand, we're talking about, or a different hand we could say, on abundance. There are key differences obviously between the two, and we want to make sure we get out of the scarcity mindset to be able to have the abundant life that we desire. Now, the previous episode was a hypnosis session around abundance, and then the prior one to that was about getting the money mind, the money magnet mind. So we'll be doing some recaps, we'll be adding some new things, and we'll be getting our mind into the right place to yield the results that we desire. That's what we're here for. You see, your attention is so profoundly important to me, because it means you being here listening to this. If you're listening to this on the podcast or the app, as always, this is being broadcasted live on social media channels like YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, and so on. So always feel free to join me live. But on the previous episodes, I wanted to be able to give you some insights into the money mindset, because I've been in both places, and that leads us to this episode. I've been in that scarcity mindset, and it's hard because it's like a little internal kind of thought trickery that starts to make you think that, how am I going to get out of this? How am I going to get out of this scarcity thinking? And the more that we live in scarcity, the easier it is to remain there, because over time it becomes more conditioned. It starts to really get into our mind and our thoughts and our feelings, and even over time it can create belief systems about ourselves. And if you've been listening to my work for even a short time, the beliefs that we hold about ourselves really make up our world. They make up how we see the world around us. The beliefs will distort, delete, and generalize that experience. So we're not seeing the true reality. It's very subjective, and it's subjective based on the beliefs that we have. It's subjective by our experiences, and then we have this perception filter of what we think is true. So it's easy to understand how we could get into scarcity, whether it be those people that we presently hang about, people who we've previously hung about, and maybe they've rubbed on us their thoughts and their beliefs and their ideologies around money, around abundance, around relationships, because abundance can be in many different things, and abundance in health, and abundance in our career growth. All of those things, even in our energy and how we project ourselves, how we wake up in the world, how we go to sleep at night, all of those things are going to have an effect on our perception. And of course, our past experiences, we can come to certain conclusions to think that maybe because I went through this event, it means this is my lot in life. This is the scarcity thinking. We've got to get out of that trap. We've got to get our mind back into abundance. Now, I don't know about you personally in your life experiences, but I wonder how long you've been in that scarcity mindset. And let's say it's around career and money, where maybe we're not really excelling in the money because we're not excelling in our career, or we could say our business as well. So sometimes we can be in that standstill. Sometimes we get into, I was actually talking to someone just the other day about this, that it caused them to feel like they had to go and leave their profession because they weren't able to produce the results that they wanted. Now, logically, they knew they had the potentiality. Logically, I mean, this person was amazing in my mind. However, that rock solid unconscious belief system. Now for this person, it was about feeling not good enough and not capable. Despite on paper, it'll be so much the opposite. On paper, they had all the skills. So maybe that resonates with you. But logically, on the one hand, you know you have the ability. You know you have the logic and the understanding. but it's the application of that, and specifically the application of how the unconscious mind runs it. If we have that limiting belief, the facts of our logic are dismissed. And I was also actually speaking today to my middle brother. I'm the youngest, and I've got two. So there's an elder one, middle one. I'm the youngest. I'm the baby of the family. And my middle brother, we were talking about like our businesses, and I was trying to impart some of my advice and my knowledge. I mean, I've been in business for over 20 years, and not many businesses stay that long. And at times I was in that scarcity. I was seriously not being able to sleep. There were some times in the day I could not eat, and I was full of dread and worry of how I could actually create something, because I had this burning desire to help people. And that's the hardest thing. Well, for me, it was the hardest thing, because I had this heart that I wanted to help people and be able to make an impact in the world. But on the other hand, this dread and doubt of, I don't know how to do so. My reality right now is not showing up as abundance. The things which are coming toward me, it's not the checks, it's not the money, it's not the clients, because that's who I wanted to serve. Nothing was showing up. And it's very common for people to experience that way. Now you could change, maybe you're not a therapist or a coach or a hypnotist and all those kind of things. Maybe it's in your career and you just feel like there's that struggle. And I was talking to my brother about this, and he was talking about investing in himself to further his business and so on. And I was like, look, if you're willing to do the work, invest. Despite it may not be the most abundant time, and that's a counterintuitive aspect. And I'm not saying people should get into debt. I'm not saying they should spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, there's quicker ways of getting there for far less than that. But yes, in times of scarcity, for a lot of people, it's important to invest in themselves. And I'll tell you why. And I'm so big in investing in myself, and especially when things aren't good. Because if everything is showing up in scarcity and doubt, and I personally do not know how to get it. Now, in the previous episodes, we were talking about that. Most people focus on when is it going to happen and how they are able to do it. Now, the when is not showing up because in our future, we just see scarcity because our present situation is scarcity, and even our past. The how's not there because we're here. We're in that place of scarcity. Maybe the debt is showing up. Maybe the people are knocking on our doors saying, look, where's our money? Or maybe in our career, we're like, oh my goodness, I don't know how to progress because I have these limiting thoughts and beliefs. And those beliefs are getting my way, and I don't know how to let those go. I don't know how to let go of those limiting thoughts and beliefs, because sometimes you've got to get out your own way. Like, you've got to seek out other things to move you forward, because the present things haven't happened or worked for us. And maybe it is the economy, maybe it is our past, maybe it is our environment. But you know what? I'd like to think of you being more than that. Because even if our external world is showing up one way, it doesn't mean we have to then bow down to our environment and go, well, that's it. The world is showing me this, and therefore I'm going to remain stuck. No. When things like that happen, it's our time to rise up. It's our time to go more in on ourselves to be able to get the results that we desire. So when I was talking to my brother, saying, look, are you willing to do the work? Which I know that he is, because he's a very intelligent, smart person. Smarter than, I'll say it, like academic-wise, than either of my, or even me or my eldest brother, because we didn't do that well at school. But I was like, hey, this is a smart person. I love him. And I know he's got what it takes to succeed. And the opportunity there was to be able to go, well, if I want to grow my business, I've got to water my business, right? If you want to grow a plant, you want to be able to put it in the right foundations. You want to be able to give it the right nutrients, the right water, the right sunlight, all of those things to grow something. Even if that seed, even if that plant is not looking good right now, right? Maybe it's not looking that good. I remember specifically, we're going on story route here. I remember acquiring a plant from someone who was moving, and it didn't look like it was in the best of shape. So I always have this like determination about things. Like if I put my mind to it, I know I'm going to succeed without zero doubt in my mind. So when I got this plant, I was so determined to be able to give it what it lacked. I was so determined to give it what it was needed. I was so determined to invest my time in helping that plant. And at times, stay with me, it was tricky. Sometimes it was like, I don't know, it's touch and go for this plant. I wanted to really save it. And I persisted. And even when it didn't look that good for the future or the present, when I began to nurture it, when I began to water it and like really put my attention to it, something magical started to happen. And you may guess what it is. It was starting to turn more green. At first, it was a small bit of greenery, if that's the word I'm looking for. But it was almost yellow. But it was a sign, it was a signal that I was doing something right. So I carried on and I persisted. And over time, even in a matter of weeks, that bloom started to happen. And I looked it up and it wasn't really, I know it's kind of weird, it wasn't really meant to happen at that time of the time of the year, but it happened. And I was like, what a perfect metaphor, what a perfect analogy, that if I want to change my external situation, if I want to be able to change myself, I need to nurture the scarcity into abundance. I need to put my attention and intention onto what's really happening here. Even if the environment is not good, I need to put my mind in the environment that is good. Sometimes you cannot change the environment. And that's why I always love the quote from Viktor Frankl from the book Man's Search for Meaning, where when we're unable to change a situation, we're challenged to change ourselves. Now, someone can survive the Nazi concentration camps and go through horrific things. And if you want a mind-opening experience, I read the book within a weekend, and I'm not a big reader. I was just like in it. Man's Search for Meaning was fantastic. And when I went out to Israel, because I teach out there every 3 or 4 years, went to the Holocaust Museum, and it just like, oh my God, it was, you cannot believe if someone can go through that and come out the other side and say, when you're unable to change a situation, you're challenged to change yourself. When that is if that is the case, then our issue, what is showing up for us in our environment, in our situation, we've got to get to that place and go, I'm going to nurture myself. I'm going to find the nutrients. I'm going to find the water. I'm going to place myself in the soil that is abundant. I'm going to allow that time to germinate and to really accustomize myself to the abundance that is there. Now, the abundance is all around you. It is. We don't always see it because, as I said, we have those limiting thoughts, we have those limiting beliefs, and those are stored at an unconscious level. So they're unconscious. You don't run your beliefs. Have you ever been challenged on your beliefs and it's still hard to let it go despite all the factual information? You're gonna hold tight to those beliefs. The beliefs are hardwired into our neurology, our values. So our values around abundance are things which are important to us, even if they're filled up with scarcity and fear and doubt, and those limiting thoughts and beliefs and emotions that we cannot control. It must mean the unconscious mind is running it. Because if you cannot change yourself, it must mean there's something happening beneath the surface. So we got to meet the issue where it lives, and it's hard for us to consciously do that. I try to impart as much information as possible, and hence why we have the 609th episode. Like, that's over 1,200 hours of content for free to hopefully try to help you. Hopefully be able to give you that conscious kind of advantage to connect more of your unconscious. But sometimes we've got to get out of our own way. And then as I was talking to my brother, I was like, yeah, look for the answer outside if you're willing to do it within. Use what you've got, but get out your own way and be able to utilize the solutions out there around you. And there are so many. There are so many opportunities where you can change within a matter of weeks. And I talk about my program because it's my program. I know it inside out, and I see the results that we get week in, week out with a select few people we choose to work with. When I receive their assignments and I go over their assignments, yes, you got to do the work. You see this person from when we first spoke to them suddenly receiving the abundance. When nothing felt like it was showing up, suddenly by working with the unconscious mind, by doing what I perceive like these magical but logical, like I believe that the systems that we have in place is an art and a science, you're able to create those inner miracles. You're able to be able to get out of scarcity. So when we're in scarcity, sometimes we want to be able to get ourselves out of a situation and seek out help from someone or some system, some manner of help, even if it's not me personally, because look, I'm not here to be able to help everyone in the world. I wish I could, but I cannot. We need to get that outside help to give us that motivation. So notice, where are you planting yourself? How are you nurturing yourself? What external things, although our environment might be perceived as all bad, but there's things out there that can cause you to get stronger. There are things out there that can cause you to feel stronger. There are things out there which can actually upgrade your mind. I'm sure you've even experienced some from big to small results with my words, because I'm sure you wouldn't be listening to this point if that is the case. Whether it be through the podcast or the app or YouTube or going these lives and all these things, you know you have the ability to make changes. You know you have the resourcefulness and the adaptability because you're here. Most people give up. Most people just go, that's it. This is my lot in life. I'm going to remain in scarcity. I'm going to remain feeling not worthy of my desires, despite desiring those most amazing things. But the fact that you are listening, that you are watching, it causes you, and it can cause you to go wake up a little bit. It can mean that you're ready to go and learn more because you've got some substance. You've got that desire to change. If we look around us, from the greatest entrepreneurs in the world, I would say, and I might be totally wrong here, so this is not factual, but I'm going to go out there based on all the books I've read on entrepreneurs, because I'm fascinated with business. I'm fascinated with entrepreneurial mindsets and stories and all those things. If I were to guess, I would say, I'm going to say it would be more than this, but I would say 90% probably came from a place of scarcity, from poverty, where their life wasn't good. Like it wasn't going well. And what happened is, rather than being sedated by their experience, it woke them up from their experience, right? That's the difference. We can remain sedated in our scarcity by believing in it, by thinking it's real, by thinking that there's no way out. That's the sedation of maybe our experience or society or those that we kind of hang around with. Or we can cause it as an awakening. On this previous episode of the hypnosis one, so that would be what, episode 607, the conscious side, I was saying that sometimes things have got to get bad for us to get out of it. It's not ideal. Like, I don't think we should live in our fight mode or in our fear mode, because if you recall, I said the fear can get us out of the pain, it can get us out of the fire, but when everything is normal and good again, it makes us go backwards. It causes us to feel like, well, everything's okay, and now suddenly you're getting back into debt, you're getting back into scarcity. But there is something beautiful about the struggle. And I was actually listening, we're going through the whole family, I was listening to one of my dad's recordings today. He asked me to take a listen to it. And he was saying that there is strength in the struggle, right? Most people, whoops, my audio just went funny there. Most people think that the struggle is hard, the scarcity is hard, that the worries and the doubts and the things like that. But what if the struggle that we're experiencing can actually become our strength, that can cause us to wake up and allow it to be an awakening, so we can realize what is important to us, where we can realize that actually I don't like what I see, I don't like what I observe, I don't like what I think and I feel, I don't like the beliefs that I have about myself. So I'm going to realize that there's something that I've got to do. Sometimes I've got to get out my own way. I've got to recognize my stories that I tell myself. I've got to recognize the beliefs that I have, and a lot of them are hidden, right? But you can find it. I mean, I try to help on these episodes, like I say, everyone's unique, so it can't be very precise, but a limiting belief, which the one thing creates the everything. And as I was saying about the entrepreneurial side, most people were from that scarcity. They were from poverty. They were in a place where it wasn't working well. Yet something within their heart, within their mind, within their body said, even though this is happening, I'm going to instigate that change. I'm not going to rely on the external present environment to change me. I'm going to be the human doing in this case. I know we're human beings and we shouldn't always be human doings, because we gotta be in a place of beingness. But you know what? Sometimes when things get hard, when things are scarce, that's where that creates the strength. That is where you double down. That's where you go all in on something. And that something is predominantly you. That's you. So what dreams do you have that are not being fulfilled right now? What desires do you have on a monetary level? Let's go there for a second. That will allow you to truly live life. And on our episode 607, I said, look, we don't want money. We want what money gives us. The safety, the security, the freedom, the things, the wellness, the ability to experience, right? So think about your goals and dreams and think, am I doing what I need to be doing to get to where I want to be? If I carry on doing what I'm doing, will I get there? That's a question we've got to ask ourselves. Because if it's not, that's the definition of madness. Doing the same old thing and expecting a different result. I don't believe that's you. Yes, we do that. I've done that. But it's the epiphany and the wake up and the insight that actually I'm not going to stay the same and do the things I've always done, because I want to be able to go, life's to be lived. I want to get better. I might not be exactly where I want to be, but I want to get better. I want to be able to enhance my beliefs. I want to be able to resolve limiting beliefs. I want to experience that abundance. Abundance in my mind, abundance in my heart, abundance in my business, my career, my relationships, my health, all of those things. If you have that inner craving for it, yes, utilize the scarcity of the struggle to get you stronger. Don't be sedated by scarcity. Don't be sedated, lots of S's there. Don't be sedated by society or the situations or what's presently showing up and think, well, that's who I am. You're more than that. You have so much to grow. You have so much to receive. Scarcity is a place where we feel like everything is happening to us. Abundance is the reception of everything that is good that is coming our way because we are radiating the openness, right? Think about it energetically for a moment. Energy is energy. Energy is in our thoughts, our body. We're made up from energy, the smallest part of us. So that energy of scarcity is like a beacon. That beacon of that scarcity is looking for everything which is similar to scarcity. It's going to look for more debt. It's going to look for, what if I get found out? What if I'm an imposter? What if I'm not enough? What if I cannot cope? What if I am successful? What if I fail? What does that mean about me? So when we fall into that beacon of scarcity, we are actually unconsciously attracting it. Your unconscious mind is just being ran through the beliefs. It is just seeking out what is similar to the thoughts that you're having, the feelings that you're having. So if you are radiating the scarcity, the doubt, and all those things, your unconscious mind is looking for it. Like a heat signature, is looking for everything which is relevant and similar to scarcity. So you've got to get to the place and go, if this is happening to me, and if I cannot change the external, like my circumstance, I'm going to work on myself, because if I'm unable to change a situation, I'm challenged to change myself. That's the struggle to the strength. And I'm going to seek out something outside of my awareness again, right? Yeah, we got a challenge to change ourselves, but it can be very hard to do by ourselves. I'm going to look for people or things that I can learn from, that I'm willing to be so resourceful about. Like where you get to the place of, I'm ready to give up my limitation. I'm ready to give up my stories. I'm ready to put that to one side, and I'm going to be open to something new, right? Because we can get locked down into those beliefs. We can get locked down to the scarcity. It's as common as human nature and all those things, but you've got to make that conscious decision to get out your own way and go, look, I'm going to put to one side those stories, those thoughts temporarily, because it's part of us, it's being run at an unconscious level, but temporarily I'm going to put them to one side, and then I'm going to be so open in my resourcefulness to learn. I'm going to be fueled from the struggle into strength, because that's my awakener, that's my instigator, that's not sedation of our present environment. I'm going to be open and resourceful, and then I'm going to be dedicated. I'm going to do the work that I was meant to be doing, which I haven't been doing, right? We can't keep doing the same old thing and expecting different results. So I'm going to be dedicated to apply what I'm learning. And sometimes, and here's a tricky thing, I'm going to be dedicated not only to give up my story, but I'm going to be dedicated to give up things that I'm presently doing. Now, usually that is a time-based thing. Are you willing to give up something that you enjoy to live the life that you want? It's a tricky question. Are you willing to give up some things you enjoy to have and receive the life that you want? Are you willing to give up an hour, 2 hours per week? That's my dog in the background there. Are you willing to give up 1 or 2 hours per week to go into my transformation? Am I going to be dedicated to go, I'm ready to learn, I'm ready to grow? And that means I'm going to be so committed to let go of the one thing that I can receive the everything. Okay? That's what we're after. We're going to be so dedicated and open to receive what we desire by giving up something that is not yielding the results. Okay? We're ready to give that up. Just 1 second, I'll get Lil Sebastian. Are we ready to give up our little reasons, our excuses, all those things? Are we ready to give up the things that we even enjoy sometimes because they're not yielding the results that we desire? That is what we have to do, right? We've got to get our unconscious mind to do those things. Because when we do those things, we become the power in our life. We become the strength. We begin to look for the things which is going to actually serve us. So ask yourself that question for a moment. Is what I'm doing, the things that I'm doing, serving the agenda of abundance? Is what I'm doing serving my health? Is what I'm doing serving my future self? If it's not, wouldn't it be nice and temporary to give that up and apply that time and that resource to go all in on our success, to be abundant? When you get to abundance, then you may want to welcome some of those things because maybe they're enjoyable. Maybe it's movies, maybe it's Netflix, maybe it's social media. Whatever you give up, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't mean you've got to always give them up, but you've got to get yourself to a place that I'm ready to be dedicated, I'm ready to be resourceful, and I'm ready to be decisive that I'm going to go all in on my abundance, to give up the things so I can have the everything. So don't be worried or shameful about investing in yourself. It is the best thing we do, and I'll tell you why. We don't really prioritize it sometimes, and it's not about my business. I'm not even saying invest with me. Like I said, I can't help everyone. But we have these devices that we carry around all the time, and they're worth hundreds, if not $1,000. There are things that we think no issue about investing in, which can sometimes be a cost. Yes, it can have a freedom and it can have all these things. But when it comes to our own development, we sometimes go, oh, I won't do that though. And to me, it's the most weird thing, because our development and that abundance is going to allow us to have those things. It's like we got somehow mixed up along the way, that we thought like the things gave us happiness. The things that we've been sedated by, conditioned by, even the experiences cause us into that mentality. But ultimately, when you start to go all in on the one thing, like you have that ferocious focus on abundance, you have that ferocious focus on getting the result and resolving the inner conflict of the mind, where you change the inner world, you will then get all of those things. It's counterintuitive, but it must make sense, right? It allows us to change, and it allows us to transform, and it allows us to give us the environments, the successes, the safety, and the security. So remember, as we kind of recap this episode, that the hardest thing to do is sometimes is to invest in ourselves. We try to do the same old things and expect different results. But when things aren't really working, we are challenged to change ourselves while simultaneously allowing that struggle to be our strength, that instigator, rather being sedated. Therefore, when we start to look out for the outside help of the real how to do it, focusing on the one thing, being so dedicated to your desires and your dreams, but the facts for what are presently happening will not count. But remember, the scarcity comes from the beliefs that we hold, the stories that we tell ourselves. So I invite you to give them up. I invite you, and it might push up against your values, like saying, I am not controlling these, Joseph. I'm not in charge of these. But you know what? Even though it might push up against your values, I'm still going to invite you to give up those reasons for not changing. I understand the events that we went through could be horrible and hard and all of those things. But don't allow the past be your reason to not change. Give up the reasons and look for the solutions. Get into that place that scarcity can actually create abundance. The abundance is all around us. The solution is right there. But you've got to be resourceful, you've got to be dedicated, and you've got to be decisive. And of course, you can do that in any way that you choose. But if you need help with that, and this is specifically for those in a career, that's who I mainly work with, or in business, you can go to josephclough.info/power, and you can finally release the imposter syndrome, the self-doubt, which is getting in the way of that career jump, getting in the way of that next promotion, or breaking through the unconscious belief systems of getting your business to where it needs to be. So in as little as 8 weeks, it will happen within weeks, but by 8 weeks, but within 8 weeks, you will finally release the one thing, the conflict which has built the prison of that sedation and scarcity once and for all. And that means, because it happens in 8 weeks, you get to live a life of that emotional freedom. And I truly know the abundance that is going to be coming your way, where you can be in that reception mode of it. The weirdest and most amazing things happen when you start to change the inner world of you. I see it day in, day out with those that I work with, where things just magically show up. In fact, one person said that he doesn't know what happened, but he's happy that it did happen, and he's a believer now. Like, in the beginning, didn't even believe it, like didn't understand it, still doesn't understand it. But magically, he actually once called it like voodoo of the mind, because it was so magical that almost immediately the opportunities and the power and the self-certainty just clicked, because we changed the one thing, which changes the everything. So yes, they are perceived, for the person who goes, miraculous, but it's an art, it's a science, it's about unlocking your unconscious mind. So with that, go to josephclough.info/power, and therefore you can watch the masterclass, you can see if it resonates, then you can apply, and if it feels like we're a good fit, we'll set you up and give you the fully tailored, customized experience in a short period of time to live your life with the absolute truth of who you are, the abundant you, the loving you, the receiving you. And to me, that is so exciting. I love it, and that's why I do what I do. But of course, I will look forward to speaking to you on a future episode. And yeah, I hope you got value from this. What did you learn? And feel free to let us know, reach out, and if we can support you further, we'll definitely go ahead and do so. So with that, my friends, I look forward to speaking to you in a future episode. Many thanks and goodbye.